We were human. We are gods now.
Stellaris Developer Diary 336 has now dropped, and we have a whole host of new information on all of the new origins coming in the next DLC, the Machine Age, as well as the changes coming to something called Cyberization and Synthesization, the process through which our empires will be cybernetically or synthetically ascending. And that process has been massively and dramatically changed. There's situations, there's event chains, there's new government authorities at the end of that, which fundamentally alter some of our gameplay effects. If you want all of that and more, stick around and let's just dive straight in, ladies and gentlemen. There are 3 new origins coming. The first of these we're going to look at now is the Cybernetic Creed. Rejoice, for the Machine Age beckons. It is your digital prophet, Gatekeeper, dialing in to decode the mysteries of the Machine Age's upcoming origins. Gatekeeper is one of the developers. Embarking first on our divine odyssey of Silicon and the Soul, he will introduce us to Cybernetic Creed, a spiritualist fast track to cybernetics. Your spiritualist pops and leaders will start with the ritualist cybernetics trait, representing your people's long dedication to attempting the perfect fusion of flesh and steel. And here we've got the Empire introduction screen. This screen is the screen that shows when you first enter the game after Empire creation. What is very interesting about this is it's got some nice flavor text about the origin. Our sublime calling is the unification of flesh and machine. I'm getting very large Adeptus Mechanicus vibes here, ladies and gentlemen. Our history is replete with failed attempts, yet guided by the divine will, we have now achieved the first stage of a sacred symbiosis with our ritualistic implants. We have only begun to touch on our boundless cybernetic potential. More advanced augmentations are yet to come. Despite this, our faith stands divided, with competing creeds disputing the end goals of sacred augmentation. Once we answer this question, the perfect union of holy flesh and blessed technology will allow us to improve on the limited designs of evolution. To fuse is divine, augmentation is worship. And here are the effects of Cybernetic Creed. Now, like Teachers of the Shroud, this origin will block off any other ascension path than the one it is focused on. While Teachers blocks off any ascension other than psionic, Cybernetic Creed will block off any ascension path other than cybernetic, which does make sense. Your homeworld has an initial building replaced by the Creed infrastructure. Cybernetic Creed factions are also formed shortly after the game starts. Now these factions are basically, as far as I can tell, your normal regular factions with a little bit of a twist. So it's kind of like the parliamentary system Civic, allowing us to get factions in right at the start. That is extra unity and extra happiness empire-wide if we can make these factions happy. We get a spiritualist trait, the ritualistic implants. I believe this is a leader trait because, as we saw earlier, there wasn't any special traits on our pops and we didn't have any special things going on with our civics. We also have the guaranteed research option, integrated cybernetics, meaning that we can probably take as our first tradition the cybernetic ascension tradition, assuming we of course complete this integrated cybernetics research option. There are probably going to be agendas we have access to that allow us to push for that faster, so somewhat like Teachers, maybe we can get the cybernetic ascension done in the first 10 to 15 years if we really push for it. Also, we get the Cybernetic Creed priesthood jobs. Now, to take this origin, we must be some degree of spiritualist and not egalitarian. We cannot be machines, we cannot have inherent perfection civic, I don't know what that is yet, but that sounds interesting, permanent employment or death cult. So there's no death cult ritualistic sacrifice cybernetic creed, that is not possible. I believe these 5 icons that are accompanying the origin text are our ritualistic implant traits. So it looks like there are 5 different leader traits that are going to come alongside this origin. That's very interesting. Eschew the mundane traditionalist factions of more standard empires for a quartet of creeds as well. Each will be a pillar of our economy and spiritualist ethos. So this screenshot is showing us the 4 Cybernetic Creed factions that we get right at the start of the game. If we count up the pop totals here, that is 28 pops, and as you probably know, you start the game with 28 pops. Interestingly, every single one of these factions is spiritualist, which would lead me to assume that every single pop in our empire follows the spiritualist ethic. That is very, very interesting. If these factions end up going away after we finished our Cybernetic Ascension and they combine into one uber powerful spiritualist faction, that could be very, very healthy for our economy and Unity production. Though united in their quest for divine fusion, harmony is a rare commodity among the creeds. Dissonance and debate fuel their fiery passion for transcendence, and often you'll be asked to make choices that will make one creed joyous at the expense of others. These creeds are the Commune of Toil, the Fellowship of the Hammer, the Templars of Steel, and the Choir of the Mind. Also, if you'll notice, these symbols here look almost the same. Actually, they are identical to the trait icons that we saw earlier. So I think basically your leaders will be associated with individual creeds based on the trait that they get, the creed trait they end up having. Here we have one such example of the events that you might get up: rewriting history. The Templars of Steel has recently begun a campaign to ban any examples of military defeats in our historical and faithful records. Interesting. The Creed claims this information demoralizes those in military service and weakens public support. Yes, because everyone knows a strong functioning military must have no knowledge of the battles it lost in the past and cannot learn anything from them. Our historians dismiss this notion and remind us that those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it. Yeah, that's exactly the point I was kind of making. Should we accept their more positive view of the past? To be victorious, we must think as victors, is one option, or unacceptable, we must learn from our mistakes. These events, we don't know exactly what they'll do, but we can assume they're going to give us positive happiness bonuses or faction approval bonuses for one faction and give us negative approval on another faction within our Cybernetic Creed factions. They probably also come with some modifiers or some resources or something like that as well, I would assume, but that's quite interesting. The Conclave of Fusion situation will unfold after you embrace your sacred mission and interface with the Cybernetics tradition tree. As you can see here from this situation, it goes by +5 per month. We can't see exactly how long it is, but it does have 6 stages. That's a lot of stages. Our society has long strived towards a perfect union of flesh and machine, and the time for them to take the ultimate journey has come. To fuse is divine, augmentation is worship. This is going to be quite interesting. Pops to receive holy implants next month 0. So this is all about upgrading the population with cybernetic crap. Here we must guide our faith, defining its doctrine and the final form of our physical vessel. Will we elevate a single creed to celestial prominence, or attempt to weave a tapestry of unity amongst all of them? To fuse is divine, augmentation is worship. So whilst this does seem to be very, very similar to Adeptus Mechanicus, of course, because we start uncybernetically ascended, it is a bit different, but that being said, at the end of this path, the Conclave of Fusion, I guess we'll be very much able to RP as the Adeptus Mechanicus and go around with, our servitors and all that kind of awesome nonsense. Finally, though, it is great. We are getting spiritualist cybernetics. That's honestly awesome. Big props to the dev for bringing this origin in. The next origin we are looking at is Synthetic Fertility. Again, this is similar to Teachers of the Shroud, where in the previous origin it was focused on Cybernetic Ascension. We're now looking at Synthetic Ascension. So let's dive into the fast track in the Synthetics tradition tree. Once a thriving society, a novel genetic disease has left the species unable to reproduce. Running out of options and facing extinction, they place their hope in digital salvation. This, of course, as I previously mentioned, blocks all other Ascension paths than Synthetic Ascension. We will start the game with 9 additional pops for a total of 37, that's very, very tasty, and we get a species trait, Pathogenic Genes. I think that's a very bad trait that's gonna kind of kill us, actually. Our homeworld is locked to size 20, we have 2 abandoned cities tile blockers, an identity repository building, and an abandoned gene clinic building. We also get the situation Rapid Identity Preservation. We'll get additional starting technologies, AI technologies. I don't know exactly which ones those will be yet, but I assume we'll get the +5% research technology, maybe another level above that, because it says technologies plural. That could be very, very cool. Lots of additional research speed bonuses at the start of the game. If that is the case, I do like the sound of that. And finally, we get a guaranteed research option, robotic workers. So we don't start with robots, which is kind of odd. It's given this is the synthetic ascension path. We don't start with robots, we get the research option for them. We will have to get up to synthetics, which probably should take some time technologically. I don't know how this is going to rush us into that though. Maybe the situation that we're going to be getting here, the rapid identity preservation, will eventually just give us synthetic technology. I assume it won't do that in the first 10 to 15 years, so this is probably not the same kind of ascension rush that we're going to get out of the Cybernetic Origin or the Psionic Origin, Teachers of the Shroud. We do have some negatives though. We will start with pops in decline. That is very, very bad. And we will continue to get pops in decline forever. Very, very, very bad indeed. We cannot be a Gestalt consciousness. These two origins we're looking at so far are not for hive mind machines or hive minds. And we cannot be spiritualist. We can be anything else. We don't have to be materialist, but we cannot be spiritualist. And if you're enjoying this video, please synthetically fertilize that like button. Boosted by a deep understanding of artificial intelligence and advanced virtual reality, our empire starts with, as I said, 37 pops, but despite your success, your people are on the brink of extinction. Yeah, very bad. An incurable genetic affliction ravages your species, stopping them from being able to produce offspring. Pathogenic genes, the trait you'll have on every pop, gives you pop's decline speed plus 100%. On top of that, you cannot colonize planets or resettle these pops, and they cannot reproduce naturally, so you have no pop growth. And you are also, as I said, declining, so your pops are dying at plus 100% rate. That is very, 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 very bad. In a daring leap of innovation, our civilization constructs the Indentity Repository. It's a race against time as minds are uploaded, seeking refuge in the digital expanse before death takes them. It does very much remind me of Pantheon. If you've seen, there's a fantastic, I think is it an anime? It might not be an anime. Fantastic cartoon, let's say, called Pantheon. There's 2 seasons of it. Season 1 is alright. Season 2 is where it really gets good. Definitely go and watch Pantheon. Let's take a moment here to plug that actually, because it's a great show. It's on Amazon Prime, I want to say. It's an Amazon show. I think it got picked up by Netflix maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, Pantheon, go watch it. It's very much like this origin. The Indentity Repository produces research and unity, and it has some energy upkeep. As well as that, we get trade value. This repository here holds 3 identities. Each identity it holds will increase the output and upkeep of the repository. Looking at the numbers, I think every identity gives 2 trade value, 2 of each research, 2 unity, and 2 energy upkeep. So what I think will be happening is as our pops die, we'll have the situation to get their minds into this identity repository to look after them, and that will be boosting our research income, our unity income, and costing us some energy, which we can kind of make back instantly with the trade value, because 6 energy is equal to 6 trade value. Don't forget also our stability and other bonuses will increase that 6 trade value to probably more like 8 or 9 on the capital. So we're actually getting more energy out of this net than we're putting into it, which is definitely kind of weird. The building pays for itself. But anyway, alongside this digital exodus, you are thrust into the urgent quest for the pinnacle of synthetic salvation, constructing robotic brains and bodies sophisticated enough to host your digital essences. This is the situation here. It seems to be ticking down towards something. The rapid identity preservation situation. We cannot bear offspring, but we can preserve our minds. This process is slow but necessary. In time, it may be possible for us to return to the physical world, but doing so will require the development of synthetic replacements. There are 3 options here. Economy first, which seems to be green. That could mean it's good for you, but bad for the situation. Yellow, extra funding. I'm assuming that's extra funding towards rapid identity preservation. And then research focus is in red. I assume that's economically bad for you, but very good. You're going to maybe get more research out of the identity building, the identity repository, and maybe the economy first gives you more trade value from it. Hard to say. It's very much like the decision in Pantheon on what to do with the intelligences that are uploaded to the internet. Very interesting. Will you seek aid? Will you engineer synthetic frames in time to reclaim your place among the stars? Or is this the dawn of an eternal digital slumber for your people? Now, I think what could be interesting is if you end up with basically no pops whatsoever. You end up with a couple of robots and everyone else is turned into the identity sublimation machine thing, and then we don't have to synthetically ascend, or even if we do, we don't have to build pops. If this could allow us to play a pop-free game, that would be really fun and really cool, kind of a fun little challenge build. Other than that, though, it looks like what we'll end up doing is contracting quite quickly, trying to push through this quest, and then once most of our pops have died, probably all of our biological pops will end up dying. Eventually, though, we'll end up building robots, droids, and then synthetics, and then inhabiting those, and maybe we'll get some extra agenda, mission speed, something to get more synthetics out quickly to get these mines out of the repository. Overall, a very interesting origin. We're going to have to see more about it as they obviously reveal more, but yeah, let's watch this space. Last but by no means least amongst our 3 origins is Arc Welders. It wouldn't feel right not to have a machine origin in the machine age. Arc Welders is available to any machine empire, whether they're a Gestalt consciousness or individualistic machines. In some ways, it is the opposite of the resource consolidation origin. Rather than having an exceptional homeworld where all of the resources of your home system are gathered, these celestial architects hail from a small, resource-poor planet, and they then set their eyes on the skies. Their planet is barren, but their home system is a bounty of riches. To exploit it, these machines build bigger than ever before. A mighty arc furnace, that's one of the new megastructures or special structures, now dominates their skies. But these master engineers are far from satisfied. The galaxy awaits, and the possibilities are endless. All it takes is the ingenuity to seize them. Let's start with the punches. Your homeworld has no mining districts. I don't even think it can build mining districts. Instead, they are replaced with generator districts. Your home system gets an arc furnace equatorial band. I think that's probably a partially upgraded, maybe level 1 on the arc furnace chain, and that is constructed around a molten world. Additionally, you'll get the arc furnace starting technology, so you can build more of the damn things. And then, this is really cool, you get the guaranteed research option Mega Engineering as soon as you construct a second arc furnace. So the arc welders are going to probably be the Mega Engineering Rush origin as long as it's not too economically unviable to have this start. What are some of the other downsides? You'll have -3 initial pops, so only 25. But given you've got no miners and instead you've got this arc furnace, maybe that's not a problem economically. We'll have to see how the numbers balance out. And your homeworld is only size 15. That's really bad. That means you can build hardly anything extra on it. If you want to get more economic output, you're going to find that difficult. If you want to get more science, you're going to find it difficult because you start with somewhere in the region of 10 or 11 or 12 districts. So only being able to build another 4 or 5 is terrible. That's really bad economically. You also get some great modifiers though. So +1 megastructure build capacity. Wow. We can build more than one megastructure at a time. I'm pretty sure that is. That's not +1 available megastructures to be built in each system, or we can build an additional megastructure of each type. That's not what this is. This is, I believe, +1 build capacity like the Ascension perk, so we can build multiple megastructures at the same time. This is, it seems, the megastructure origin. You'll also get +1 maximum arc furnace capacity. Now, we know we have to build 2 to get the guaranteed research option. Maybe arc furnaces are limited to 1 per empire. Is that what we're seeing here? But maybe they have a higher limit. Maybe it's 5 or 10 or something like that. But we can build an extra one. I don't know. We will have to see. The only thing you have to do to get this origin is be some type of machine. The arc welders began constructing an arc furnace on a molten world in their home system before they achieved faster than light travel. This kilo structure, as the devs are calling it, I think that's a fun play on it not quite being a mega structure, but anyway, lets them exploit the rest of their system for minerals and, once complete, for alloy production. So, this tells us that the arc furnace makes minerals at the lower levels, and at the higher levels it makes alloy. So basically it's kind of confirmed here we're getting a mega structure that generates alloys. Excellent. Expert engineers, it will only take a little more practice before they can figure out the basics of mega engineering. However, it may take a while before they can finish researching that technology. Yeah, it's going to take probably like 20 years to do it. Maybe it'd be worth it and just kind of skip over a bunch of other tech, but I'm really not sure. We will have to see. More details on the Molten World Arc Furnace will be revealed in the April 4th dev diary. That's in, I think 2 weeks from now. Also, just one thing I want to note about this image. Actually, there's two things I want to note. First off, have you seen the new ship designs? Look on the left there and at the starbase. Those are the new ship designs. Honestly, they look pretty sweet. I'm very much liking this. It's kind of got some Star Trek vibes, but also a mixture of the I'm kind of getting vibes of the what are they called? The donut-shaped starships with a bit missing from Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. The Trade Federation Kruger Hulk class, are they, or something like that? I can't remember, but they look awesome. Second important thing to note here, look at that paperclip Civic. You may not have heard of it or played it, but there's a great little mobile game called Paperclip Factory or something like that, where basically you start as an automated AI that is tasked with making more paperclips, and by the end of it, you have converted the universe into paperclips. It is absolutely awesome, and I hope that Civic is somewhat inspired by that. With all of the focus the Machine Age is giving to mechanical empires of all forms, it is appropriate to improve the Mechanist Origin as well. Mechanist now grants +2 machine trait points, as well as an extra trait pick, and fills that by starting your robots off with the Adaptive Frames trait, taking advantage of the new auto-modding system they're introducing in 3.12 Andromeda. Apparently we'll have to wait until April 4th for complete details on how that works, but I'm going to guess auto-modding system means that we're going to get pops automatically modified if we have the points available to be better. Whilst that can be good, it may also be bad if they end up putting crap traits on our pops. Reading through Mechanist here, otherwise it basically does exactly the same. We get the same technologies, the same robot assembly plants. The only difference here is those additional modification points from the start and the Adaptive Frames mechanical trait on the robot pops. Sadly, I think this origin is now going to be kind of overshadowed by the Cybernetic Creed origin as a Cybernetic Ascension rush path. I think Cybernetic Creed probably gets there much faster than this one does, though Mechanist later on may be more powerful with all of those additional modification points and species picks. We're now going to hear from Ferry, one of the content designers on the Machine Age, about Cyberization and Synthesization situations. They are here to talk about the new narrative Ascension situations. Utopia introduced these special projects to transform the population into cyborgs and synths. The Machine Age provides you with the choices to shape the cyberization and synthesization process, as well as their ultimate effects, so we're going to get much more specialization out of how this is done. When the cybernetics tradition tree is adopted, the cyberization situation, the Cybernetic Creed origin has its own version as well, that kicks off with the question, who will control the implants in society? Will it be the government? Will it be private corporations? Or will the public be allowed to hack their own implants? Very cool bit of thematics they're injecting into this. I'm very much liking what I'm hearing so far. The Augmentation Center building, which is the focus for research and development during the situation, stays after the situation to boost the cybernetics on the planet it is on. And here we can actually see it. So this grants us 2 augmented jobs, plus 5% resources from jobs planet-wide. And what do the augmenters do? Well, they take a lot of alloys. 4.8 alloys over 2 jobs, that's basically 2.4 per pop. Maybe there are some other modifiers here, maybe the base is just 2 and it's been increased through some technologies, I'm going to guess, but that's still quite expensive. 4 alloys here on 2 pop jobs. What do we get out of it? Some engineering research, that's good. Some amenities, that's also good, reduces our amenities usage needs and increases pop efficiency on the planet. And we're also getting plus 20% pop growth speed on the planet. This is not as good as the Psi-Core building that Psionic Ascension gets, which grants lots and lots of additional resources from jobs output, but additional pop growth speed is still good. I assume it does say that once you complete Cyberization, it boosts cybernetics on the planet, so maybe afterwards the Augmentation Center improves all of the traits your pops have. Maybe, we will have to see though. However, not everyone is excited about augmentation. Any spiritualist will either have to be forced to become full cyborgs or be allowed to install the minimum amount of implants necessary to function in this new world according to the Cyberization Standards policy. And as we can see here, there are basically 2 policies. full cyberization, and limited cyberization. If you go for limited, spiritualist leaders and spiritualist pops gain the limited cybernetic and limited cyborg traits representatively. That's weird and interesting, and I love it. I think it is a very good point to note here that from a human, or at least, from an ethical perspective, some of these ascension paths are downright diabolical. Forcibly implanting implants in everybody, every baby, every elderly person, everybody is kind of morally repugnant. So giving us some control over whether everyone has to have it or just most people choose to have it, I think is a very cool and thematic switch, and it definitely makes much more sense, for egalitarian empires, for example. There's no way a fanatic egalitarian would realistically force everybody to have their children implanted with cybernetic implants. It would, that's just evil. That's more authoritarian than egalitarian. It's always felt a bit weird to me. So I love how that is being catered for now. And also it's going to have some game impact. For synthetics, in the synthesization situation, and by the way, the synthetic Fertility Origin has its own version of this, it is not only spiritualists who are wary of the planned changes, which makes perfect sense. For some reason, even more people are concerned about scanning their mind to be put into a mechanical body. Does your society allow those reluctant to stay around in quaint old towns, or do they have to go into biological enclaves to escape becoming a part of the new machine species? Like a rogue servitor. This is awesome though. This is really, really awesome stuff. The Indentity Complex building provides identity designer jobs across the Empire who boost mechanical pop assembly as well. The Indentity Complex has an Empire limit of 1. Honestly, buildings with an Empire limit I always find to be really hit or miss. Sometimes the bonuses are just not that great. You get 1, it's a nice bonus to have, but why are we limited to only 1 per Empire? Why not 1 per planet? Anyway, we get 2 identity designer jobs, and on this planet, I don't believe it's Empire-wide, I think it's only this planet, we get ruler pop resource output plus 10%. Which is honestly crap. Getting 10% ruler pop resource output means, unless we are specialized and have, a technocracy or something, our rulers generally only generate unity and amenities, so the amenities don't get buffed. We're getting 10% extra unity on our rulers. Yuck. We also get some job production here, some amenities, some engineering research, and it costs a few alloys. The actual job does also give +2 monthly mechanical pop assembly per worker. I think that's alright, but given it's got an Empire limit of 1, unless that is Empire-wide monthly mechanical pop assembly, I'm a little bit concerned about the viability of this one building. It's not a great building to have. If the other empires are getting, Cybernetic is now getting that Augmentation Center. We know that Psionic has the Psycore building. Yeah, I have concerns about the viability of the Synthetic Ascension path. Empires that start as machines, machine intelligence, or individualist empires get their own ascension situation called transformation. What this means will be explained in next week's dev diary covering machine intelligence empires and individualist machines, so let's look forward to that one. After the situation has concluded and the tradition tree has been filled, an event chain then kicks off to shape society into a new advanced authority. This is a change in your government authority type. Currently, the government authorities are just democratic, oligarchic, dictatorial, imperial. We've got megacorp, and then hive mind and machine intelligence. Now, though, we're getting a whole host more. 4 extra per category, basically, and then 2 extra for hive minds. And these will basically ask questions. Does the cybernetic society allow the individual to flourish, or are implants used to bring the population tighter together? Each of the 4 base authorities and Megacorp, as well as Gestalt Hive, can transform into a cybernetic version of the original authority or opt to stay the same. We're going to have a look at the Imperial Authority. One path through the cybernetic societal shift ends with the Imperial Chipset Authority, where implants are inherited within families to carry strength and knowledge forwards through generations. The event chain here seems to be called Future Shock. The Imperial seat has decreed our efforts be focused on the dynasty itself. A special ruler chip will be implanted on all future rulers to record and transfer their experiences as the arch-prophetess of the Xandrean Empire. This relic chip will then be transferred to the heir at the time of the ruler's passing. As the ruler chip is passed on through generations, its vast library of experiences will become the foundational record of our society. We can also leverage our population's learnings for our leaders' benefit. So we can basically here change into this Imperial chipset authority or stay with the old Imperial authority. On top of that, we also get to see what it actually does. So the Empire effects here. Minus 10% happiness outside the core sector. That's not terrible, but it's not great either. If you're playing a very tall build, you can kind of ignore this entirely. You get the special relic ruler chip, we'll look at in a minute, and you unlock the Edict levied experience. I suspect that one will possibly give us a leader experience gain maybe, or something like that. But maybe come with a happiness penalty or some sort of penalty to show that we're taking away people's brain chips and using them because we're evil. On top of that, the Imperial ruler also gets a new effect. Here, the Imperial ruler now gets plus 2% ruler job output. Unless we're getting some sort of massive rework to ruler jobs, that's crap. That's utterly, utterly crap for all the reasons I outlined before about why increasing ruler resource output is bad. So as each ruler dies, their class, be that official, commander, or scientist, will grant different bonuses for the heir as they ascend the throne. Honestly, this relic looks awesome. I love the artwork here. What does it basically do? Well, for every scientist that dies, you get 5% additional research speed. For every commander that dies, you get 10% additional ship's weapon damage, and for every official that dies, you get 5% additional resources from jobs. These are all maxed out at 5 stacks of each, so that's 25% research, 50% ship weapons damage, and 25% resources from jobs. That's amazing if you can get it that high. If you activate this relic, you get intergenerational knowledge, which grants you plus 50% ruler experience gain for 10 years on a 10-year cooldown. That could be really, really good if we're trying to get, for example, some genius armorers as our commander, and as our commander ruler, and we really need to rush ahead. How could we cheese this? Well, I'm guessing if you go for overtuned, I assume you can go overtuned and then go cybernetic ascension, and then modify your population to have all the overtune traits. So over 2 years, you just kill off your ruler over and over and over and over and over again. And then, after that's done, you then modify them back after you've maxed out the bonus. But I'm not even sure that's going to be particularly possible. Why? Well, let's not forget, at present, Cybernetic gives us 40 years of additional leader lifespan. On top of that, by the point you cybernetically ascend, you generally have a couple of the technologies, maybe a couple of traditions. You have pushed your leader lifespan upwards, so it's probably an extra, 60, 70 years on top of the base. So we're looking at about 160, maybe 170 years old. Meaning that in a normal playthrough, unless you're trying to cheese this, by year 2400, you probably only had 1 or 2 ruler deaths maximum. That's crap. If we're only getting a couple of ruler deaths because we're cybernetically ascended, why give us bonuses that we should stack for getting our rulers to die more? This doesn't make sense to me from a gameplay perspective unless you're actively trying to cheese it, or you're able to kill your ruler by continually, declaring war on fallen empires or declaring them rivals and getting them to assassinate your leader. Yeah, let's watch this space, but I'm dubious. The Cybernetic Creed Origin has its own set of advanced cyber governments, one for each authority. That's important to note as well. For synthetics, the main question of the societal effects event chain is if the new machine society will put a focus on the physical or the virtual world. I'm getting strong Pantheon vibes again. This is amazing. One example for the democratic authority is called democratic surrogacy, which replaces soldiers and pilots with remote-controlled bodies. Here we can see synthesized society event. Being hesitant amidst an incomprehensible change is understandable. Many are more worried about what they might lose rather than what they could gain. But we cannot stand idle in the crossroads, and so must lead our people onwards. This could mean either creating a selection of specialized personal bodies for people to jump into at will, or fully embracing their digitized form to endure rigors of space travel and warfare. So we could use surrogates to fight for us, or facilitate moving between physical bodies. Or we could have synthesization not change who we are. That's the final option, to remain with the same authority. I'm assuming the top one with the physical body change might have something to do with resettlement, maybe. Possibly the automatic resettlement chance is so infinitely higher that they just instantly migrate around. Maybe. We'll have to see. But what does democratic surrogacy do? Well, we get, it's a democratic authority type, and we get an empire effect. Plus 50% edict fund. That is a percentage as well, not 50, 50%. That is amazing. We have never seen a percentage increase to edict fund ever, and we need to see that. I'm hopeful, actually, this indicates that we're getting changes across the board to different traditions, different effects that grant us edict fund, now granting us a percentage increase to edict fund, because we really need that at the higher levels. Governing ethics attraction minus 10%, that's very manageable, actually, very, very manageable. War exhaustion minus 50%. This means you can probably never be forced to status quo peace as long as you stack up some of the other modifiers from technology and traditions to reduce war exhaustion gain. You can easily hit minus 100% and be like a crisis empire that never, ever, ever has to make peace. You get 15% sublight speed and 25% ship build speed. The ship build speed is useless. The sublight speed is kind of good though. The main power here so far definitely is the edict fund and the war exhaustion gain. If you're going to go from a military stance, if that's what you're looking at, the sublight speed is also kind of a moderate bonus too. The ruler gets new empire effects, so they get plus 2% unity from factions and plus 5 edict fund. I think that's basically the same as our current democratic ruler effect. I think that one might have a slight difference, but I'm pretty confident that's the same. Overall, these new authorities look unique and interesting. Some of them might be a bit more miss than hit, but I'm definitely excited to see what they all do. More variety, more varied gameplay styles is awesome. That's going to lead to more replayability and more fun from Stellaris. This looks so far like we're getting a massive, absolutely massive amount of content in this DLC. Again, that brings my mind back to the question of price. What price point is this going to be at? It looks like we're getting as much content as Overlord, if not more, basically, from what I'm seeing so far. So, yeah, I do have some concerns on that price point, given how much content we are seeing coming. I know I've heard some members of the community, especially in my comment section, talking about whether or not they might not even purchase this DLC if it were to come out at $30, which it could do. We could see that happening. We really don't know where they're going to place the price point. We will have to wait and see on that, and I am really looking forward to finding out that new information. Next week, we're going to look at individualistic machine empires, gameplay changes that the devs are making to machine empires, and go through the new machine ascension paths and transformation situation. If you've enjoyed this video going through the new Origins, Synthesization and Cyberization processes coming with the next Stellaris DLC, The Machine Age, but you'd like to find out more about the Machine Age, what are all of the features that are included in this new DLC, you probably want to watch my video breaking down the entire feature list. If you'd like to see that, click the video on screen now.